Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the LG Escape on AT&T. It's only $49.99 with a 2-year contract, but it's actually a pretty nice phone. It used to be for $50. You got a chunky, ugly, and not very fast, not very good screen phone. This one has good stuff like Qualcomm S4 CPU and IPS 4.3-inch display. Thin looking, stylish, not bad at all. We're going to look at it now. So the LG Escape is an Android 4.0 ice cream sandwich phone, runs Android OS 4.04 to be specific, with a 4.3-inch QHD 960 by 540 pixel IPS display. You know, LG does nice IPS displays, and that's what you get here, which is a pretty nice deal for a phone, again, that's only $50 on contract. A couple of years ago, even a year ago, if you got a $50 Android smartphone, it was very low resolution, it was chunky as all heck, and not particularly fast, and that's not the case here. Though there are some other smartphones on AT&T that have now been reduced to that price because they're older phones. This one is launching at that price, just like the Pantech Flex, which is also a very good phone for the money. If we take a look around the phone, you can see, well, big display dominates, and if we touch the screen, you can see we have our backlit capacitive buttons here, and you can adjust the backlight timing for these. You can set it to even be always on if you like, which is kind of rarity these days. That's nice. The display itself doesn't have an ambient light sensor, which is interesting, so you set the brightness where you want, but you can't set it to automatically set brightness for you. Front face, typical LG, kind of squared off corners. We've got the chrome ring here, not bad looking phone at all, and from the side you can see it's very thin. Nice and attractive. Now this is the only design element that visually might be a little jarring. It's kind of a rubbery ring around the side of the phone, but it is textured and, well, it's rubbery, so it's actually very grippy, so I won't complain too much even if it's not the most visually thrilling thing I've ever seen on a phone. I have a volume rocker over here. Up top, the headphone jack, a little microphone hole. On this side, our power button. And nothing going on the bottom except for another microphone hole and your micro USB port. On the back of the phone is gloss plastic with a pattern, which is another thing that LG loves to do. A nice little crosshatch pattern. Here's your speaker hole right here. There's your 5-megapixel camera. Notice there is no LED flash, and this thing is pretty darn shiny, as you can see when I wiggle it right around here. It catches a lot of light. Now, if you want to access the battery and storage expansion slot, you pull off the back. It's always refreshing when you can still actually open up a phone and swap the battery. And there is our 2150 milliamp battery, good capacity, micro SIM card slot, and a micro SD card slot. The phone does not come with a card. It has 4 gigs of internal storage. Just under 2 gigs are available for your use, so not a lot there. You can put documents, photos, videos, and stuff on a micro SD card, but remember that with Android 4.0 and up, applications can only be installed on internal memory, so if you're a real big fan of those 1 gig games or 500 meg games, keep that in mind. There's only so many you're going to fit on this phone. And now to give you a size comparison, granted with more expensive phones, but here we have the Samsung Galaxy S3 4.8-inch display, Android 4.0 also, LG Escape in the middle, and here's the iPhone 5 in white. So you can see that the LG is not that much bigger than the iPhone 5, so for those of you who really don't like big phones, you have small hands, small pockets, whatever the reason may be, LG is relatively pocketable for today's Android smartphones. So for your $50, you actually get a pretty decent phone. 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 CPU. That's the current generation of fastest Qualcomm CPUs. We have a 1.5 gigahertz in comparison in the Galaxy S3 and the HTC One X on AT&T, and also on the Pantech Flex. That one gets the 1.5 gigahertz version, but the difference between 1.2 and 1.5 gigahertz, you're really not going to feel it all that much. So that's not my biggest concern there. You have a gig of RAM. Again, we mentioned 4 gigs of storage with about 1.79 available for your use. A little slim there, unless you're going to install a lot of big heavy games, though. Should be enough to get the job done. Front video chat camera, 5-megapixel rear camera, no LED flash there. LG makes good cameras and they make good camera phones, so even though it's only 5 megapixels, it takes pretty pleasing pictures and it can shoot 1080p video, so you're not going to be suffering too badly with this camera. In fact, it compares pretty well with the Pantech Flex's camera, although that one does get you the LED flash. And it's NFC, and you can see right up here we've got a little NFC symbol. It's the first time I've seen this on an Android phone. It's nice to know when your NFC is on, though it's kind of funny because still there really isn't very much you can do it. There's no wallet, Google Wallet on this, for example, no payments, but you can use it for data transfer or for pairing with the few Bluetooth headsets on the market that actually use NFC pairing. has single band 802.11 BGN Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0 LE. The phone also has the usual GPS, and it comes with Google Maps, and of course if you want to use AT&T Navigator powered by TeleNav, you can do that, and that's about $10 monthly charge. If we take a look at the user interface, pretty much your standard Android here. You have your 5 screens to deal with. There's a bunch of shortcuts that are pre-populating here, and some widgets, music playback widget, the usual Yellow Pages mobile that's bundled from AT&T. Of course you can customize this as you see fit. Say you don't want to have the Antutu benchmark on your desktop. Say goodbye to that. You don't like a widget, drag it and trash it, or add new ones. If you take a look at the home screen here, this is actually toned down from some previous LG phones that had little divider sections. Some people didn't like that so much. This is the latest kind of Optimus UI that they've got going. You have your view of all applications. You can switch to just downloads, which can actually save you some time, certainly. And if you want to see the widgets that are available, there they are. We have the standard Google widgets. We have AT&T Traffic and AT&T Navigator. Calendar views, direct dial, Facebook, Google Photos, a bunch of music player widgets, and that kind of thing. So pretty unobtrusive UI from LG. Now here's an interesting little thing up top here. When you first use the phone, you'll see a teeny version of this icon in the upper corner. It'll give you a clue. I wonder what that is. You tap on it, it's going to tell you that this is Quick Memo. Now this probably came from the LG View Plus overseas, and the same 4:3 aspect ratio phablet that's on Verizon, basically. And this is a note-taking app. Now you're going to use your finger. This does not have an active pen or even a stylus that comes with it, but you can use your finger to essentially create a picture of anything. So you can choose your tool here. I want to use the pen tool and say I want to circle this because I think it's just brilliant. So I can do that. I can switch to that tool right there, and I can erase if I accidentally didn't mean to do that. You get the idea. So you can socially share it. You can save it if you want. What it's going to do is it's going to basically save a screenshot with your markings on it. So that's a kind of handy feature, and that's available anywhere. So say we're on the web browser, we want to do the same thing. So here we are loading our own web page, and we just choose Quick Memo again, and then I can start saying, oh, I'd really like to read that review of the Kindle Paperwhite and share it maybe. So if I hit share, you can see all the things I can do. I can email it, Facebook it, Gmail it, Google Plus it, send it as text message, send it to Picasa, Twitter, so on, send it via Bluetooth. So that's an interesting little feature that sets it apart, and you might find that useful. So overall, I have to say I like some of these new Optimus features pretty well. The phone has 4G LTE, and as always in the Dallas area, we get very good speeds. You can see on our latest run of speed test, we still have one up here. We'll run another one right in front of you, though. That's pretty insane speeds, isn't it? And this is after the iPhone 5 has been let loose on AT&T's network to suck up some of that bandwidth. We've got over 35 megabit down and 19 up. And that's been pretty much representative of our tests so far. So definitely very good data speeds on this phone. A little bit better than the Pantech Flex, as a matter of fact. When it comes to software preload, AT&T's pretty fond of their bloatware. So you can see we've got AT&T Code Scanner. That's a barcode scanner. It actually is pretty useful now that I picked on it. AT&T Family Maps, AT&T Locker, AT&T Navigator, AT&T Ready to Go, AT&T Smart Wi-Fi, and so on. We have the standard bundle of Google apps, the YouTube Player, Gmail, email, all those goodies. AT&T Live TV here if you want to pay for their Mobi TV-based streaming TV service. Notepad application, we've got Quick Light for video chat, though probably a lot of you are going to use Skype or Google for that instead. And Polaris Office is on board. And this is actually a full version of Polaris Office. As you can see here, I can create a new document. It's not just a viewer. So say I want to create a new Word-compatible document. There I go, and there's my little user interface to do that. If you are diehard, you could actually hook up a Bluetooth keyboard to this to have an easier time typing. Speaking of typing, I like the keyboard on this really well. Not that it's such a super-duper special layout, but LG really got the screen response and the haptics down nicely, and I find it very accurate to type on. Now, I use mostly Android phones, but I have to admit that the iPhone and Windows phones have had the best keyboards in terms of just being able to type quickly and accurately, and this one is also very good, so a little extra kudos to them for that. When it comes to video playback, playing back online streaming videos, this does HTML5 video. Once again, as we always say, Adobe has pulled Adobe Flash from the Google Play Store as of August 15th. You can still sideload that if you go hunt for it on Adobe's website if you need Adobe Flash Player. Otherwise, you're going to get the HTML5 counterpart, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually very high quality, and it's a lot less fidgety than using Adobe Flash on mobile devices. So we'll check out our Fujitsu Stylistic M532 Android tablet video review from YouTube, but obviously it's going to play in HTML5 format. And you can see how responsive this is. Scrolling through, there's lots of pictures. There's a video on here. QHD display, reasonably sharp. That's a decent resolution for a 4.3-inch display. IPS, always nice. I will say it doesn't seem hugely bright to me, and that means that I can have a hard time combating glare. This is playing just fine. And playing full screen, also just fine. You can play locally stored MPEG-4 videos easily. It works with Netflix as well and some other streaming services. And here's our on-screen dialer. Large, colorful, definitely easy to operate. And we have our usual shortcuts to the dialer, your call logs, your favorites, and all contacts over here. Call quality has been very good on this phone. Really nice, especially considering it's not a very expensive phone. Reasonably good noise reduction, not miraculous there, but it also doesn't mangle your voice and over-digitize it in a noisy environment. It will tend to let some of the noise come through. Not complaining too much about that, but pretty clear, fairly full voice on this. Also a little bit better than the competing Pantech Flex when it comes to the voice quality. And here you can see the camera UI. Obviously we're using the rear camera right now. Shot times are pretty quick there, and you've got a variety of settings. You can switch between the cameras here, mute the microphone, choose all sorts of things like autofocus versus face tracking focus, brightness, your image size, your scene mode, ISO, white balance, color effects, geotagging, shutter sound, auto review, so a good number of settings there. And here we can choose between HDR, nice to have that again on a budget phone, panorama mode, continuous shot mode, or just normal mode, so nice. And if we want to switch to video, we've got live effects here, really weird things you can do with your picture to distort it. Okay, that's not my favorite feature there. Control your EV, zoom in and out, choose your resolution. You can put color effects on here, adjust your white balance, video size, you can see goes all the way up to full HD. And now we're showing a really exciting picture of our boat. And there we're taking a picture of our boat at the same time. So you don't have to get a $200 phone to have that feature. And now we're playing Dead Trigger, a demanding 3D game, to see how this can handle gaming. And you can hear the speaker level. It's at about 50% right now. Not the world's loudest, but gets the job done. And we're going through our little tutorial right here. And we'll look for some real zombies to get in trouble with. Plays just fine. And we have killed off all our zombies in the training level. Game plays absolutely perfectly. So for a $49.99 phone with contract, you can do plenty of serious gaming on this thing. So that's the LG Escape, available now on AT&T for $50 with contract. Depending on who you go through, you might even find it cheaper. And I have to say, it's a really nice phone for the price. It's fast. It has a pretty decent IPS display on it. It's slim. Not bad looking. Certainly doesn't scream, I'm a budget phone. You get this nice reflective back right here. You can do Morse code with it if you need to. Does show fingerprints, as you can see, but it also cleans up pretty easily. All in all, a decent phone. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. This is the LG Escape, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.